The words hit me like a gut punch in a crowded elevator, the kind that leaves you gasping but silent, surrounded by strangers pretending not to notice. We were at her company's holiday gala, the air thick with the clink of champagne flutes and the artificial sparkle of fairy lights strung across the ballroom ceiling. I'd just introduced her to a colleague of hers I'd met earlier, proudly like an idiot, as my future wife, the brilliant Elena. She smiled then, that polished professional curve of her lips, but as soon as the man walked away, she leaned in close, her breath hot against my ear, laced with the sharp tang of gin. "Stop introducing me as your future wife," she hissed, her voice low but laced with venom. "It makes me look like a desperate cliché, clinging to some outdated dream." Her eyes flicked away, scanning the room, and in that moment, something inside me cracked. Not just my heart, but the fragile illusion I'd built our life on. I stood there, frozen, the velvet of her red dress brushing my arm like a stranger's touch. The music swelled, a jazz band's saxophone wailing in the background, but all I heard was the roar of blood in my ears. Humiliation burned through me, hot and immediate, like acid splashed across my chest. We'd been engaged for 8 months, the ring, a modest emerald-cut diamond I'd saved 2 years for, glinting on her finger under the chandeliers. How could she say that? My mind reeled, denial flooding in first, a desperate tide. Maybe she was drunk. Maybe it was the stress of her promotion. But as she pulled away, laughing at something a coworker said across the room, I saw it. The way her hand lingered on his arm, the intimate tilt of her head. It wasn't just words. It was a confession, hidden in plain sight. That night, driving home through the rain-slick streets of Chicago, the wipers slapping rhythmically against the windshield, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles whitened. Elena sat beside me, scrolling through her phone, the blue glow illuminating her face in ghostly pulses. "You okay?" she asked absently, not looking up. Her voice was casual, as if she hadn't just gutted me in public. Anger simmered beneath my skin, but I swallowed it, forcing a nod. "Yeah, just tired." Inside, though, resentment coiled like a snake, ready to strike. How long had she felt this way? Was our engagement just a performance for her? The city lights blurred through the rain, reflecting my fractured thoughts. Memories of our first date, her laughter echoing in a cozy Italian bistro. The proposal on the lakeshore at sunset, her tears of joy that now felt like a lie. By the time we got to our apartment, the fury had morphed into something sharper. Obsession. I poured myself a whiskey in the dim kitchen light, the amber liquid burning down my throat as I watched her slip into the bedroom, shedding her dress like a skin she no longer needed. She didn't notice me lingering in the doorway, my eyes tracing the curve of her back, once a source of desire, now a map of betrayal. That night sleep evaded me. I lay beside her, her steady breathing a mocking rhythm, while my mind raced through scenarios. What if I confronted her? Demanded the truth? But doubt crept in. Maybe I was overreacting, projecting my insecurities onto a throwaway comment. No, I told myself, replaying her words in a loop. Makes me look like... Like what? Like someone trapped. Like a fool for believing in us. The next morning, over coffee at our scarred wooden table, the sunlight slanting through the blinds in harsh stripes, I tested the waters. "About last night," I said, stirring my mug slowly, the spoon clinking against porcelain. She looked up from her laptop, her dark hair tousled, eyes guarded. "What about it?" Her tone was light, but I caught the flicker, a micro-expression of annoyance. "That thing you said. About not introducing you as my fiancée." She sighed, setting her mug down with a deliberate thud. "Oh, come on, Alex. It was just... People at work don't need to know every detail of our personal life. It makes things awkward." Her words were smooth, rehearsed, but they didn't match the hiss from the night before. Heartbreak twisted in my chest, a dull ache that spread like ink in water. I wanted to scream, to shatter the mug against the wall, but instead I nodded, feigning understanding. "Okay. Got it." But I didn't. That conversation only fueled the fire. As I left for work, my mundane job as a graphic designer in a mid-tier firm, the resentment grew, roots digging deep. On the L train, jostled by commuters, the metallic screech of rails echoing my inner turmoil, I fantasized about justice. What if I exposed her? Told her family, our friends? But that felt petty, unsatisfying. No, revenge needed to be precise, a scalpel rather than a hammer. Guilt nipped at the edges. Was I the villain here, twisting her words into something sinister? Moral conflict warred within me. Love doesn't die overnight, but neither does betrayal fester without consequence. Over the following weeks, the slow burn began. I started small, subtle. Checking her phone when she showered. The steam from the bathroom curling under the door like tendrils of suspicion. Nothing overt at first. Just unread emails from work, memes from friends. But then a text from Mark work. Last night was incredible. Can't wait for the conference. My stomach dropped, the phone screen blurring as fury surged. Mark. Her boss. The one whose arm she'd touched at the gala. Denial hit again, maybe it was professional. But the timestamp, 2 a.m. after she'd claimed to be at a late meeting. I screenshot it, my hands shaking, the cool glass of the phone a stark contrast to the heat in my veins. The obsession deepened. I followed her one evening, tailing her cab from our apartment to a trendy bar downtown, the neon signs reflecting off puddles like fractured promises. Hiding in the shadows across the street, the chill wind biting through my coat, I watched through the fogged window as she met him. Mark, tall and smug in his tailored suit. They laughed, her head thrown back in genuine mirth, a sound I hadn't heard in months. When he kissed her, possessive and unhurried, humiliation crashed over me like a wave, leaving me breathless on the sidewalk. I stumbled home, the city noise a cacophony in my ears, planning my next move in the quiet recesses of my mind. Back in the apartment, the walls closing in with their familiar scents. Her lavender lotion, our shared coffee grounds. I paced the living room, the hardwood creaking under my feet. Cold resolve settled in, pushing out the heartbreak. She was betraying me, dismantling our future piece by piece. But why? Was it ambition? Boredom? Mark's power? Her motivations layered like onion skins. The driven career woman, tired of my stagnant life. The girl who'd once whispered dreams of a family, now chasing thrills. I wasn't blameless. My complacency, my failure to notice the cracks. But that didn't justify this. I began gathering evidence, strategic and quiet. Hacking her email wasn't hard. We'd shared passwords once, in that naive phase of trust. The messages poured out. Flirtations escalating to explicit plans. Hotel receipts buried in spam folders. Each one fueled my resentment, but also guilt. Invading her privacy felt wrong, a moral gray area I justified as self-defense. Fantasies of confrontation evolved. Not yelling, but a calculated reveal. I'd wait for the right moment. Let the suspense build in her life as it had in mine. One night, as we sat on the couch watching a thriller, ironic, the plot mirroring my turmoil, she leaned against me, her warmth a cruel reminder. "I love you," she murmured, her voice soft. Suppressed rage boiled beneath my calm facade. "Love you too," I replied, the words tasting like ash. Inside, doubt gnawed. Could I really destroy her? But the image of her with Mark, their entangled bodies in some anonymous room, hardened my resolve. The pursuit of revenge wasn't just anger. It was reclamation, a way to purge the obsession before it consumed me. Weeks turned to months, the winter snow blanketing the city in deceptive purity. I feigned normalcy at work, my designs sharper, fueled by inner fire. Friends noticed my distraction. "Everything okay with Elena?" And I'd smile, the lie seamless. But alone, in the glow of my laptop screen, I plotted. Not violence, that was too crude, too final. No, my revenge would be poetic. Expose her affair at the wedding we'd planned, or sabotage her career subtly. Fear flickered. What if it backfired, leaving me the fool? Moral conflict raged. Was I becoming the monster she made me feel like? Then, the turning point. She came home late, reeking of his cologne, a faint mark on her neck she tried to hide with her scarf. "Rough day," she said, avoiding my eyes. The tension snapped. In bed that night, her back to me, I whispered into the darkness. I know. She stiffened but said nothing. The silence was electric, pregnant with unspoken threats. Suspense hung heavy, the first hint of my retaliation emerging from the shadows. The words hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot, acrid and irreversible. Elena didn't respond, but her breathing quickened, a subtle rhythm shift that betrayed her fear. I lay there, heart pounding against the mattress, the sheets tangled around us like restraints. Cold resolve had carried me this far, but now doubt crashed in. Had I revealed too soon? The room felt smaller, the city's distant sirens wailing like omens. She finally shifted, her voice a whisper in the dark. What do you mean? It was laced with feigned innocence, but I heard the crack, the manipulation starting to fray. I mean Mark, I said flatly, sitting up, the bedside lamp casting harsh shadows across her face. She paled, eyes widening in the dim light, but recovered quickly, propping herself on an elbow. Alex, that's ridiculous. He's my boss. We've been working on the merger. I cut her off, pulling out my phone, the screenshots glowing like evidence in a courtroom. Her face crumpled as she scrolled, the blue light etching lines of panic. Heartbreak mingled with triumph in my chest. Seeing her unravel was satisfying, yet laced with guilt. She'd made me this way, obsessive, vengeful, but was I any better? The argument erupted then, raw and unfiltered. She denied at first, tears streaming down her cheeks, the mascara smudging like war paint. It's not what you think. It was a mistake one time. But the emails contradicted her, dates stacking like dominoes. I paced the room, the carpet muffling my steps, fury boiling over. A mistake. For months. While wearing my ring. My voice rose, echoing off the walls. She huddled on the bed, resentment flashing in her eyes. You don't understand. You're always so content. Mark challenges me, pushes me. Her words stung, revealing her motivations. Boredom with our stability, thrill in the forbidden. Layered, yes, she wasn't evil, just selfish, chasing ambition at my expense. But that didn't absolve her. As dawn broke, gray light filtering through the curtains, we reached a fragile truce. I'll end it, she promised, her hand on mine, clammy and desperate. I nodded, but inside the planning intensified. Forgiveness. Well, this was the slow burn accelerating. I'd let her think she'd won, build the suspense until the strike. Obsession gripped me tighter. I dreamed of her downfall, vivid scenarios where she lost everything. Moral conflict tore at me. Revenge felt justified, but at what cost to my soul? I played the part masterfully over the next weeks. We attended couples therapy, her suggestion, the therapist's office smelling of stale coffee and forced empathy. Communication is key, the woman droned, her pen scratching notes. Elena squeezed my hand, performative affection, while I suppressed rage, nodding along. But behind the scenes I dug deeper. Using a burner phone, purchased in cash from a dingy electronics store, the clerk's indifferent gaze mirroring my detachment, I contacted Mark's wife anonymously. A tip about the affair, vague but pointed, sent via email. The response was swift. A frantic message chain I monitored, her suspicion igniting like dry tinder. Suspense built in quiet moments. Elena grew paranoid, jumping at her phone's buzz, her eyes darting when Mark's name came up at dinner. Everything okay at work? I'd ask innocently, fork scraping against plate, the metallic sound heightening the tension. Fine, she'd snap, then soften, guilt flickering. Her inner conflict mirrored mine, regret warring with defensiveness. I savored it, the power shift intoxicating, but fear lurked. What if she discovered my hand? The conference arrived, the one they'd planned their trysts around, a lavish event in New York. She packed her suitcase in our bedroom, the zippers rasped like a countdown. I'll miss you, she said, kissing me goodbye at the door, her lips cool. I smiled, waving as her cab pulled away, then rushed to my computer. Hacking into the hotel's reservation system was riskier. Morally gray, teetering on illegal, but desperation justified it. A friend from work, a tech whiz, had shown me basics. I altered her room assignment subtly, placing her next to Mark's wife, who'd booked separately after my tip. From Chicago, I monitored via a planted app on her phone. Another invasion, guilt-gnawing but ignored. The first night, texts flew, Elena to Mark. "We can't, not here." His reply, "Come on, baby." Then chaos. Mark's wife confronted them in the lobby, voices rising over the hum of elevators and chatter. I imagined it cinematically. The marble floors reflecting her shock, the scent of overpriced perfume clashing with betrayal's bitterness. Elena called me sobbing that night, her voice crackling over the line. "It's a mess. Mark's wife, she knows." Suppressed rage in her tone, directed at him or me. I feigned concern. What happened? Inside, cold resolve hardened. This was just the prelude. She returned home defeated, bags under her eyes, the ring still on her finger like a shackle. "We need to talk," she said, collapsing on the couch, the leather creaking under her weight. Tension thickened the air, rain pattering against the windows like impatient fingers. "I want to make this work," she pleaded, but her eyes betrayed hidden motives. Fear of losing stability, not love. I listened, nodding, but my plan's final phase loomed. The wedding was 3 months away, invitations sent, deposits paid. I let preparations continue, the irony delicious. At fittings, the tailor's pins pricking fabric like my pinpoint revenge. Then the twist. I anonymously leaked the affair to her company's HR, emails forwarded with timestamps. The fallout was swift. Her promotion revoked, whispers in the office corridors. She came home furious, slamming the door, the vibration rattling frames on the walls. "Someone's sabotaging me." Mark got suspended. Her eyes searched mine, suspicion dawning. Heart pounding, I met her gaze. Who would do that? In that moment, obsession peaked. I confessed, not everything but enough. I did it. For us. No, for me. Her face contorted, shock, fury, heartbreak mirroring my own months ago. "You monster," she whispered, but there was guilt there, acknowledgement of her role. We argued through the night, revelations spilling. Her affair started innocently, coffee turning to kisses, resentment at my mediocrity fueling it. My motivations laid bare. Humiliation turned to resolve, a grey quest for balance. The payoff came unexpectedly. She left, packing in silence, the suitcase wheels rumbling like thunder. But as she reached the door, she turned, eyes wet. "I deserved this. But so do you, for becoming this." Her words hit like a final blow, poetic justice twisting the knife. I was free, but hollow, the revenge's consequences echoing in the empty apartment. Obsession faded, leaving resentment's ashes and a lingering doubt. Had I won or lost myself? In the end, the twist wasn't her downfall, but mine. Realizing betrayal breeds monsters, and revenge, while sweet, leaves scars that never heal. The city outside buzzed on, indifferent, as I poured another whiskey, the burn a familiar companion in the quiet aftermath.